Hey, sports fans, Larry Eder, Run Blog Run, and Socialing the Distance. Today, our guest is Pascal Rolling. He's the head of international running for Puma. Pascal, great to see you, my friend.
Great to see you, Larry.
Now, where are you right now? Are you in Germany or?
No, I'm in France. I'm based in France.
Okay.
So confined, like a lot of countries in Europe. But
now, what's it like? My buddies in Monaco are telling me like they go out, or they're in right across the border in France. They can go out like 2 kilometers or 1 kilometer and go back, or is the rule still about like that right now?
No, the rule has changed. It's a bit more relaxed now, but there's a curfew at 6 o'clock in the evening, so you have to be home, from 6 o'clock until 6 o'clock in the morning again.
Okay. Wow. So you've been with Puma for almost 2 decades. Is that correct? Or how long have you? I'm trying to think.
Yeah, nearly 3 decades, nearly. Yeah.
Wow. So you now are the record guy in sports marketing of any of the brands. So congratulations.
I don't know, but yeah, pretty much, I guess. Yeah.
I met you when you were dealing with Usain Bolt, which was always a lot of fun. And I thought you guys always handled him well. And he was, a lot of fun to interview. But you've really kind of shaken up the sports marketing world over the last 3 to 6 months. Martinot-Lagarde, Sandy Morris. You had Mondo Duplantis, which was a big deal. Now you have Pascal Martinot-Lagarde, Wilhelm Belocian, Angelika Bengtson, Geza Kraus, who I love, and Andrew Pausi. We were just doing a piece about him last night. What's the focus? What's Puma trying to do right now?
I think Puma has been involved in track and field from the very beginning. I remember Puma has been created in 1948, and the first Olympic champion wearing Puma shoes has been in the 1952 Helsinki Olympics. Bartel won the 1500.
Oh, yeah.
So Puma has been involved in track and field from the very beginning. So just a continuation of what Puma is all about. It's about doing the best shoes for the best athletes. There's been height, and low, like in every company. Obviously, like you mentioned before, we worked for a couple of years with Usain Bolt, which have been a fantastic ambassador for Puma. And since he's gone, we're looking to have a new athlete to represent the company. Yeah.
Mondo Duplantis was a big move for you guys. I see Mondo as, I hate to compare people to Usain. Mondo Duplantis is Mondo Duplantis, but he transcends the pole vault already. Why did you guys pick up Mondo?
I mean, Mondo is first a fantastic talent. I mean, that everybody knows that. Yeah. But he's also very charismatic. He's a fun guy to work with. He's appealing to the younger generation. So he's a great ambassador again for Puma.
Yeah. And then you went, and now you have Martinot-Lagarde, and my readers love Renault. He is so much fun. He is an incredible ambassador to the sport. He's the first guy to go over Sergei Bubka's big indoor mark. But he gives as much to the sport as he, competes. And the meets that he's put on the last couple of years have been fun. What was the goal with getting Renault?
Yeah, I think you have to remember that the Olympics, after the Olympics in Tokyo, are going to be in Paris in 2024.
Sure.
So we are already working to get our athletes, our ambassadors for Paris in place. And from now up to then, we wanted to have a mix between young athletes, but also more experienced athletes, and make them interact among themselves. And, the older athlete can then teach the young athletes some stuff which is important to be successful in Paris in 3 years' time. That's why the mix of more experienced and younger athletes was important for going into Paris for the French market.
And that's why Pascal Martinot-Lagarde, the top French hurdler, and then the young hurdler, Wilhelm Belocian, are in your
you know,
group now?
Willem is still a very young guy. He is a
Yeah.
world record holder, junior world record holder in the 110-meter hurdle. He has a great future in front of him. He should be at his peak in 2024 in Paris. You know, we also work with Carol Zai since January 1st. She's a national champion in the 100-meter.
Oh, yeah.
So I think we signed around 25 people in France to represent Puma going into the 2024 Olympics. Yeah.
Where's your biggest market?
I think in terms of sales, it's China. But we work globally because track and field is a global sport. I think the coverage of track and field, you know, at the Olympics or World Championship goes worldwide. That's why we're looking for assets actually in most of the territories.
So you were talking about the different territories that Puma has picked up athletes. In the U.S., you just picked up Sandy Morris, the top pole vaulter on the women's side. Are we going to see more American athletes in your folder over the next couple of years?
I think our strategy is not really based around particular countries. We're working to get a visibility on global events with athletes from different territories. Sandy is a great ambassador for us. I mean, she has great charisma. She speaks, especially to the female audience when it comes also to training and fitness. She's a great ambassador for that. We're going to maybe have more athletes coming from the US because we're relaunching our Puma running business, and we're going to work with American distance runner for sure to get, again, credibility for our shoes, you know, with more US athletes for sure. Yeah.
What when I look at athletes like Mondo, Renaud, and Sandy, all of them have, besides being authentic athletes, which is always the key, and one of the things I think Puma has done well, there's something else that's needed now in this time, which is their ability to communicate in social media. Is that one of the criteria you look at, followers that athletes have and their influence in the marketplace?
Not necessarily the followers, because some people are more, it's more easy for them to work with social media, some others are not, but it doesn't mean they are not charismatic athletes. It's also up to us to use them and make them known to the public. So it is a criteria, but it's not a main criteria. Yeah.
Now you picked up Asia Protlier, who was the Commonwealth gold medalist in the steeplechase. You've had a long relationship in Jamaica and the Bahamas. Tell us a little bit about that. Why did Puma focus there?
You know, we have a new CEO which came in 2013. He's a great guy who has a professional background in sports, so he's very close to the athletes, very close to the sports performance. And the goal was to reestablish Puma as a performance company. And this is where our motto came to Forever Faster, which goes back to Puma's heritage in sprinting and in track and field, and looking at it, which from a sports marketing, you know, what could communicate that Forever Faster concept is basically the Caribbean, because most of the fastest people in the world are coming from this part of the world, and that's why we entered a partnership with many of the Caribbean countries like Trinidad and Tobago, Bahamas, Dominican Republic, Cuba, Jamaica, Barbados. It was a way for us to communicate our new slogan, Forever Faster.
Cool. Well, I like one of the athletes I really enjoy is Pedro Pichardo, the triple jumper, and I was actually just posting a video with him and Christian Taylor earlier this morning. Yeah. And now, do you sponsor the federation in Cuba?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when you sponsor a federation, do all the athletes, are they then outfitted in Puma product at championships, but they can have their individual contracts? Is that correct?
I mean, nearly all the federation, the contract is only for the apparel. So the national dress for what they wear in the Olympics or World Championship would then be, Puma. The only exception is Cuba, because they do not allow athletes to have individual contract. Therefore, the contract is for the entire, not only for the national dress, but also for all the athletes competing also in Diamond League or whatever. Yeah.
With picking up Mondo, then Renault, then Sandy Morris, you've got three key players in the pole vault. You also had athletes like Silva from Cuba in the pole vault. Are we going to see you guys get into pole vault type events? Is that kind of a thing you're going to see too? I mean, those things are fun.
But, I think we're not into. You also forgot Karsten Warholm, the 400 hurdler from Norway,
Yes.
one of the key athletes in our portfolio. We don't think in terms of disciplines. We more think in terms of personality and athletes' charisma. And so sometimes the guy or the athlete, the female athlete, is from pole vault. I think this year it's just we signed out of pole vaulter, but it's more like there wasn't a particularly attempt to sign more pole vaulter. It just came because Sandy was available and wanted to come to join Puma, and she's great. Bankstone in Sweden was an opportunity. So it just, and Renault in France, but there wasn't any particular intention to do more pole vault.
Okay. Karsten Warholm is one of my favorites. I totally respect his attention to detail in the hurdles. I love his relationship with his coach. I have on video his first time he met Edwin Moses, when Edwin Moses was trying to tell him a little bit about the hurdles. And he's captured interest of Americans as well as Europeans. Why was Karsten one of those athletes? You liked his personality? You liked the direction he was going?
I think first, Karsten is one of the most famous sports person in the entire Scandinavian market. So it was important to have somebody in Scandinavia. But then as he developed, he became a global asset. I mean, if you look at the season 2020 with the COVID and everything that happened, I think there was two outstanding athletes, which is Mondo because of his world record and Karsten because he competed nearly all the meet. He was so close to break the world record. So these two were actually fantastic ambassadors for Puma last year. Despite all the problems of not having meetings, I mean, they've done a great job to promote Puma and promote track and field at a time where the visibility of the sport was not as it would have been if you would have had Olympics.
Did you get to go to some of the Diamond League meets in Europe?
I mean, I went to Oslo and Monaco.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Monaco was obviously great because you had spectators, which was refreshing to see. Sport with spectators. I mean, it's difficult if like in Oslo when you have no spectators.
Sure.
The atmosphere is weird, but at least we had the chance to have our sport, displayed and have some competition for the athletes, which was not the case for all the sports.
Yeah. What has been the biggest challenge for you during the pandemic as the head of international running for Puma?
I think there was obviously a lack of visibility from our partners. But most importantly, it's for the athletes who were training for the Olympics and then have no competition. That's very frustrating. There's also obviously for some of the athletes a lack of financial income because of not competing. Not everybody has big shoe contract and so it was tough for some of the athletes, and we had also to help with that and see how we handle that. Between the lack of visibility, the financial need of income for some of the athletes. So it wasn't always the easiest situation for us and for some of the athletes as well.
An athlete who takes a gold medal in an Olympics and an athlete who takes a gold medal in a World Championships, how do you rate the difference between an Olympics and a World Championships?
First, the athlete we work with, I don't rate them, or we don't rate them compared to what they won. I think first they are personalities. Of course, if you win, you are maybe more known by the general public, but you can have great athletes who do a lot for the brand and are great for the sports, who have never won a gold medal in Olympics and are still fantastic ambassador for the brand. Yeah? In the past we used to work with people like Martinot-Lagarde or Colin Jackson, which were a great ambassador. They've never won an Olympic gold. I mean, that doesn't mean that they haven't been, fantastic for the brand. Yeah. So
you picked up Gesa Kraus, the bronze medalist from Doha in the steeplechase and the European champion in the steeple. I think she's totally underrated, and she's got an absolutely vicious last lap. How big is she in Germany?
I mean, Gesa has been voted a couple of times Athlete of the Year in Germany. Because of her success, not only at the European level, she won, I think, 3 titles in the European Championships, but also medals in the World Championships. I mean, she's a major star in track and field in Germany, and she's going to be a fantastic ambassador for Puma running in Europe.
In the U.S. at this time, many of the brands have gone behind distance-based clubs. Will we see Puma doing anything like that in the future?
Yes, we're going to open a club in North Carolina with Alistair Craig. He's going to be the coach.
Awesome. I love Alistair. Yeah. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. So we're just going to, we have already 2 athletes, which is Werner Taylor, who has joined, and Fiona O'Keefe. From a female side, and we have Stephen Fahey, the NCAA champion in the steeplechase, which has joined. So these 3 athletes are already training with Alistair, and we're looking to add more athletes in the future.
What's the name of the club, may I ask?
No, there's no name yet.
No name? Okay. Yeah. Cool. That's really great to hear, Pascal. That's awesome. Talk to me again about so you have Karsten, obviously big in Scandinavia, Mondo, same. And this year, and I think really, quite frankly, any year, even if there hadn't been a pandemic, Karsten and Mondo would have been huge. Mondo, obviously, because of the world records, but Mondo also because of his amazing consistency. And he is a character, In the days since Usain Bolt retired, a lot of media like to say, where's the next Usain Bolt? And I hate that. I think that's been a wrong approach. And I think you guys got it. You've picked up athletes that have their own personalities, that have their own draw, and you're letting them kind of develop as they develop. Would you care to talk about that anymore?
No, but I think, when you mentioned Usain Bolt, but we need to agree that I understand that Usain Bolt was an outstanding, not only athlete, but also personality. Yes. He had everything. And to always compare athletes to Usain is going to make it difficult because, he had the talent, he had the charisma, he had the intelligence, he had the sense of humor. You can put him in front of a president of a republic or a country, and it will be easy for him to interact with the president. You can put him in a ghetto in Kenya or in Jamaica, and he's going to be funny, and he knows how to interact. I mean, he's a very intelligent person who knows to adapt depending on his people who are around him. He was obviously a fantastic talent. He broke world record, Olympic champion. We're not going to find somebody like that which has everything so easily. So to compare everybody to Usain is going to be difficult. But sure. I think we still have a lot of personality in track and field, which are great. Not only great talent or great athlete, but also great personality. But we just need to make sure that these people are communicated, are visible, so the people know them, the public know them. Yeah.
So you started in sports marketing at Puma about 30 years ago. What are the biggest challenges in our sport that you see in the future? And let's take the pandemic out of it for a little bit.
I think the main issue for the sport is the visibility that we are getting. I think we're getting less and less visible for the general public, and that makes it difficult for athletes to become household names, because when you see somebody once a year on television at World Championship, Olympics, or European Championships, it's difficult for them to become very well known by the general public. I'm not talking the track and field fanatics who are going to follow everything, but the general public, they're going to see these athletes once a year, and therefore it makes it difficult for them to become superstars. If you compare with basketball or football or the other sports which are continuously on television, on the media, that's not the case at the moment for track and field. But we need to work, to make athletics more visible, whether it's in the stadium, outside the stadium, whether it's new format, but in a way or another, these people need to be more visible.
In France, I know most summers I spend about a month in France, staying outside of Paris, hitting meet to meet. And what I love is turning on French TV at night and seeing the plethora of small track meets. Do you see track and field in France as being strong, or do you see it as having challenges as well?
It's having challenges because the TV contracts have changed. So it's on pay TV, which has very little potential viewer. So there's also challenges in France. There's some other country where, Scandinavia or Switzerland, where they can see every meet on free television, which makes it easier. But I think that the time of 15 meetings on free television are over. This is not going to happen again. So we need to find new ways of getting track and field on TV, and maybe it's not free TV, but it's some kind of the ways for the public, and especially the young people who have different usage of watching sport, that they're getting to see athletics as well. Yeah.
Do you see? How do you approach streaming video? Or do you see that is as important as terrestrial TV?
Yeah, I think the young consumers are watching less and less television and are consuming sports too differently than we used to consume it 20 or 30 years ago. Today streaming and all the social platforms are very important, and we need to make sure that our sport is more displayed in these new medias. Yeah, for sure.
You talked about China as being your biggest market. Have you picked up top athletes in China?
No,
to represent
yet.
Puma?
At the moment, we're using global athletes to represent the brand in the Chinese market. I think it's also a choice of Puma China to say, at the moment, because we have good ambassadors, let's use these athletes in China because they will work as well. So a Mondo or Sandy is going to be displayed and promoted in China. But certainly in the future, we will certainly look to get more athletes in the Chinese market as well.
What about the continent of Africa? How do you see those markets? Those are emerging markets now?
We used to work a lot with Kenyan athletes. We had over 150 athletes from Kenya, with Daniel Komen and Moses Kiptanui and Ondorozo, who won Chicago Marathon. We had a lot of these of the athletes. At the moment, we work with Nigeria, the federation, and South Africa. These two federations, we have partnership with them. Maybe in the future, we're going to go back to distance running in Africa, but at the moment, we decided to start with more American and European. But yeah, maybe for the future, we're going to work with African athletes again. Yeah.
Puma has had a long tradition of working with federations, and you have there's other brands that have just bought every federation known to God, and but yours seem to stick out. When you're looking at a federation, what are the criteria for sponsoring a federation?
But if you look at athletics as a whole, you have basically the championships and you have the Diamond League and the other competitions. Mm-hmm. I think they work in conjunction both. So you need to have the visibility and the personality through individual contracts. So when you watch the meeting in Rome or in Stockholm, you're going to see Puma and you're going to have personality that represent the brand in that important meeting. But also we have to remember that the peak of the sports are Olympic Games and World Championships. That's where you get the most viewers. And what you see the most in this championship is the shirt of the competitors, and that's why having partnership with federation, which give us great visibility at this championship, is important for Puma. Yeah.
I've been to the Riva in Paris and Saint-Denis. Love that meet, and now it's at Stade Charlotte. The crowds really get into it, and they love their French athletes. Would you like to see an additional Diamond League meet in France? Do you think France could handle it? Or do you think France is doing fine with one Diamond League meet?
I think that Diamond League, the question is not so much in which country it is whole. It's more what is the meaning of the Diamond League series and why should I put my TV on a Sunday afternoon to watch the meeting in Rabat? It cannot be that it becomes like in soccer, it would be a friendly game between two nations, and the important thing is only the World Championship or European Championship. They need to have a meaning within the season, which at the moment I think is a bit lacking. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I know World Athletics is working on that, and they're aware of the issues, and I'm hopeful that they're gonna solve the issue and make athletics more visible and relevant through the year, and not only be relevant once a year at the World Championship or Olympics.
Okay, so we're going to make Pascal Rolling the head of global track and field for one day, okay? And there's 3 things you're going to institute to make the sport more visible. What would they be?
First, get athletics to the young consumer. Find new ways for them to watch track and field, and maybe it's not all the disciplines, but so if I'm a young consumer in Germany, I can watch what interests me, maybe on the social media. Build a season for track and field that make the sports visible through the entire year, and not just 2 months or 3 months a year. And then the third thing would be try to communicate the personality of the athlete. So there's also an emotional connection between the athletes and the people who are watching athletics. That it's not, I need to be emotional drawn by what I see, and have if it's A or B who wins, then it doesn't matter to me, then I don't need to watch it. But if I don't know who's competing, it's difficult to get emotional drawn in. Yeah.
All right. I want to throw this one at you. Right now, people are wondering if Tokyo is going to happen. So we're not going to talk about Tokyo, but let's just talk about that we're dealing with a pandemic, or we're dealing with an issue where an Olympics has to be canceled. How does a brand like Puma look at that situation, and how do they help their athletes gain visibility? Because the Olympics, as we know, it's almost a world religion. I don't believe, and it really doesn't matter what the IOC does or does not do. As much as Thomas Bach can sometimes drive me crazy, everybody loves the Olympics. But when it goes away, and it seems right now we need one, but I'm not sure it's going to happen. How does, in light of a championship ending, like the European Championships got canceled in 2020, and God, I was looking forward to that. I love European Championships. How do you, as a man who's managing assets, for a global brand deal with a situation like that?
I think the first thing is that we need to make sure that we support the athlete, because that's the most important. And if you look at what happened last year with the COVID the Olympics, we didn't find place, and like you said, the European Championship, we had to make sure that the athletes are fine also financially, and that's why we helped them as well. Even if contractually we could have reduced a lot of the athletes, we decided to do minimum reduction so they're financially stable. I think that the first measures. There's not much we can do in terms of organizing events with the COVID and stuff, but at least the people need to stay motivated, stay financially stable. I think these two things are the most important, with reminding them that this is a particular time. There's going to be a lot of competitions. If it's not in 21, it's going to be in 22. You have World Championship, you have European Championship, you have World Championship in 23, you have Olympics in 24. So there's still a lot of competition that's going to come up in the future. I mean, more competition than ever before. So you need to stay motivated. Yeah.
If who was the first athlete you ever signed? Do you remember the first athlete?
You mean me personally, or you mean
you personally?
I think it must have been the renewal of Colin Jackson.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. I love Colin. I've had some conversations with him, and I love watching him talk about the hurdles on TV, but also talk about the sprints. He's still so amazing.
I mean, Colin is a perfect example of what we discussed before. I mean, he's a great performer on the track, but he's also a fantastic personality, very charismatic. Yeah. I mean, fantastic ambassador for the brand. Yeah.
Now, do you keep relationships with athletes like that after they stop competing?
Yeah, I think we have, even apart from a personal relations, we have agreements in place with, the kind of Colin Jackson, Linford Christie, Jonathan Edwards, Tommy Smith in the US. I mean, these people are still with the brand, even if they retired many years ago.
With all of, let's take Jonathan Edwards for a second. I was there in Gothenburg. That was my first World Championships, and it was also my first world record to see right in front of my face, and it was magnificent. With the plethora of fine jumpers right now, you've just got the young athlete from Burkina Faso, Fabrice Sango. Do you see Jonathan Edwards' record being challenged the next couple of years?
I mean, it's been challenged, by a few athletes, from Tamgo, the French, from Christopher Taylor, and Pichardo from Cuba. I mean, there's a lot of young Cubans as well, which are doing well at the moment. But it showed that the world record from Jonathan from 1995 is a fantastic record, which, like in the high jump, you think it's gonna fall one of these days, but it's still there. Even if people have come close, it's gonna fall again one day. Like every record is gonna be broken one day, but this one, from 95 is standing for a long time, for sure. Yeah.
Who is the most underrated athlete you've ever sponsored that you brought into Puma?
Underrated athlete.
Yeah. Who's an athlete that you'd like us to know more about, that you'd like us to recognize? Give me an athlete now that recently that you signed that you'd say, hey, check this one out.
I think, a guy, but it's also because he doesn't speak English, but Miguel Echevarria, the Cuban jumper. I mean, he's a fantastic talent. I mean, he's also somebody who can break a world record in the coming years. Certainly, he didn't win in Doha, which maybe didn't help, but he can be one of the big stars for track and field in future as well. Yeah.
He showed a lot of class with it.
A young guy, charismatic. he has everything except maybe his English to be a world star. Yeah.
Yeah, we interviewed him in Birmingham in 18, and then in 19 in Doha, where we recorded the metal presser. He just showed a lot of class, and that's the thing too. Athletes have got to be good when they win, but also they have to be gracious when they don't, because
but also remember, he's a young guy. He hasn't been on the world scene for a long time, so I mean, he jumped very well in the qualification, and he thought pretty much the title, the gold medal is in the pocket before the final. And then when Tajay Gale jumped this unbelievable jump in the first round, I think that psychologically it wasn't easy for him to digest that.
Yeah. No,
but he's going to learn. And Tajay decided to work with Puma as well. So
good.
I mean, now we are.
You've got it covered pretty well. Well, Pascal, you've survived 38 minutes with me. Thank you very, very much. It's great seeing your good smile and I love hearing, I like talking sport with you. We normally do it when we're in a stadium for a second or two when you're running between people. And I hope to see you at a big meet soon.
I hope so too.
This has been a lot of fun.
And sorry for my English. Sometimes I want to say it differently, but I just don't have the wording
Pascal,
in an interview like that.
You do great. You do great. You did fantastic. Our readers will love it. And you've explained. I was just fascinated to see where Puma was going with these athletes. I thought you were really giving a message that you were building towards 2024 in the future. And it's great to see a global brand investing in our sport. It's really key. And people forget that, that brands like Puma are the reason why we have professional athletics. And,
I appreciate and thank you for that. But also we need I think the sport cannot just rely on shoe companies to survive, But I'm sure, with John Region and IAAF, World Athletics, they understand the change, the need for change, and I think they're going to work on that, even if it's not so easy. But things need to change, for the sport to get viable.
No, I think it's a big deal.
Because especially in the US, it's difficult, no?
Yeah, it's a challenge. I mean, I'd love to see another Diamond League meet here, and right now it's. We're juggling. We've got one, and we used to have two on the separate coast. And right now we're trying to, we're getting ready to start our indoor season. And I think we're going to get a few meets, but I just don't know how far it's going to go with what's going on with COVID right now, and it's just, and I worry about it in Europe this winter as well. I think that the meets in Germany and France will happen. But I also think that it's going to be a challenge. And
but they're going to happen. But they're going to happen without spectators. I mean, some without TV, just with streaming, which is fine. It's better than nothing. I mean, at the moment, you have to say it's better than nothing because some other sports have nothing at all. At least we can have some kind of presence, and the athletes can compete somehow. I remember some sports just froze completely and have. Absolutely zero visibility, zero income, zero. It's tough for everybody, I guess.
No, I think it has been very tough. Well, Pascal, thank you very much.
Thanks, Larry.
This is Larry Eder with RunBlogRun. This is Socialing the Distance. We've just featured Pascal Rolling, who's the head of international running for Puma Global. Pascal, thank you, my friend.
You take care.
All right. Cheers. Hey, sports fans, it's Larry Eder with RunBlogRun. This is Socialing the Distance, the epilogue, or as everybody knows, Larry's monologue. Today we featured, I thought, a fantastic interview. Pascal Rolling, he's the head of international running sports marketing at Puma AG. He lives in France. I've known Pascal for 3 decades, and he's been at Puma that long. I believe he is the longest enduring sports marketing guy at one brand in my lifetime. Puma's an interesting brand. It's very, very European. It began in 1948, and it was the the dissolution of a relationship between the Dassler brothers, one who formed Adidas and the other who formed Puma. And the Puma has picked up, has had a pretty interesting group of athletes. And what Pascal's job is putting together those athlete relationships. And as he says so eloquently, the ambassadors to his brand. He focused on where he could do battle best, which was in the Caribbean. He picked up some of the top sprinters from Trinidad and Tobago, from Cuba, from the Bahamas, from Jamaica, from the Dominican Republic. He sponsored the federations and sponsored athletes. In Cuba, the athletes cannot have individual contracts. So Puma is the federation sponsor. And they're also the sponsor of some of the top athletes like Pedro Pichardo, Yarlis Silva, and there have been some amazing other athletes over time that Puma has been involved with in Cuba. The athletes you guys know now are athletes like Mondo Duplantis and Karsten Warholm. What's fascinating was that in 2020, in a pandemic year, Mondo Duplantis was really the athlete of the year. 16 vault competitions, 16 wins, world record indoor, taking it to 618. Karsten Warholm chased the world record for the 400-meter hurdles, a singularly difficult event for the entire season. Both are the kings of Scandinavia, but they've also become world global ambassadors, and they're huge. Puma just having those two would be big. But then this year, Pascal picked up 24 athletes in France alone as they build towards the 2024 Olympics. But recently he picked up Martinot-Lagarde, the farmer world record holder in the pole vault, who just went 592, second in the world, now European leader in the pole vault right now. He picked up Sandy Morris, the silver medalist from the World Championships, U.S. athlete. He picked up Pascal Martinot-Lagarde, bronze medalist in the Worlds, a great French hurdler. And then Wilhelm Belocien, the world junior record holder in the 110 hurdles, who will be at his maturity in Paris 2024. Angelika Bengtsson from Sweden, former national record holder, I believe national record holder too. The one that put a smile on my face was Gesa Felicitas Kraus, the steeplechaser, the bronze medalist from Doha and the European champion from 2018. He also has, we forget about this, Miguel Echevarria, the long jump phenom, but he also picked up the Doha champion, Gade, in the long jump as well. So Pascal's put some amazing athletes together, and everybody needs to recall that he's the man who signed Usain Bolt. And there were all kinds of brands fighting for Usain in the old days. And Pascal was able to sign him and keep him during his entire career, which was pretty impressive. Now athletes like Usain, Colin, Jackson are ambassadors still for the sport. When I asked Pascal where the biggest market was, he said it's China. But right now they're using global athletes as ambassadors. He's letting Puma China decide on they're going to build that on themselves. The exciting news in the U.S. is that Puma is relaunching the running shoe brand in the U.S. So we hope to see, they've had some great product. I've still got some in my closet upstairs. But under Alistair Cragg, top athlete from the University of Arkansas and former coach at the Bowerman Track Club, they've got a new club in North Carolina with 3 athletes assigned, including Fiona O'Keefe. And we're looking forward to learning more about the new American club that has no name yet, but that'll be bringing on some athletes. So Pascal provided a sports marketing 101 class. He helped us understand the global requirements, and obviously he gets it. But he also talked about other things. One of the things about all the sports marketing directors out there, from Pascal Rowling to a Spencer Nels to a Craig Masback at Nike to a Ben Cesar at ASICS, is they all love the sport. And you've got to do that, because the decisions you've got to make, you've got to juggle that business and the love for the sport. But what Pascal talked about is visibility for athletics. He gave a big vote of confidence to World Athletics' John Ridgen, who is the chief marketing officer down in Monaco for World Athletics. And John gets it. John was at Fast Track with Alan Pasco, and you guys know my love of Alan Pasco. So he, Alan, and Ian Stewart, among others, really saved British athletics in the 2000s. And British athletics has continued to thrive. What John's going to be doing in world athletics, shaking a few things up, but with with a sports marketing brain like Pascal Rowling supporting John Ridgen, I feel a lot better. I always thought a lot of John, but I like to hear Pascal, because Pascal's one of the quiet ones. When you get him to talk, he really talks, and he can put things together, and that's really key. And what he's doing for Puma is huge. Back in 2013, the new CEO of Puma, who was from a sports background, said, and I remember, that he wanted to bring the word performance back into the Puma lexicon. Puma had become a sports lifestyle brand, but they had this incredible sports history back to 1952 with Josef Bartel, who won the 1500. And so that was their first athlete to don Puma shoes and to win an award, win a global medal. So the moniker, the hashtag Forever Faster, which you've seen all over the place, has been slowly developing. And now Puma, under Pascal Rowling, has this wonderful coterie of athletes, and in France, in Germany, all over Europe, starting in the U.S., also in the Caribbean. Besides Sandy Morris, they picked up the Jamaican steeplechaser, gold medalist in the Commonwealth Games, Aisha Prout-Lear. One of my favorite athletes. Aisha is just a real good person, and I've loved watching her develop in the steeple. We got to talk with her a bit in Birmingham in 2018. But Pascal, again, has put together this global plan that makes sense. How does a brand that does not have the dollars of Nike or Adidas communicate their brand's uniqueness on the global stage? And Pascal Rowling has helped do that and enhance that for Puma AG. The interview was a lot of fun. I think there's a lot of things that sports marketing geeks and sports marketing aficionados and people who are just learning about it can learn from. I also think his comments about where track and field is, the need for visibility, what we need to do to make it better, it's all there. It's a chock full of information, so make sure you check it out. Thanks again to Mike Deering for recording it. This was one of the earliest ones. I think he was worried about me getting out of bed in the morning, but I'm in my second cup of coffee. Trader Joe's Cup of Joe, man. It's dark coffee, $3.99 a pound. It rocks. It's not Pete's, but you know what? I can just my brain gets going just listening to or smelling the beans get crushed. Anyway, Thanks again to Mike Deering for producing this. This is Larry Eder with RunBlogRun. You're listening to the Larry log, the epilogue of Socialing the Distance, where we featured Pascal Rolling. He is the head of international running for Puma AG, and they've been picking up an amazing group of athletes. They've had Mondo Duplantis and Karsten Warholm for a bit, and now they've picked up 24 athletes in France, and they've got Renaud-Lavillenie, they've got Sandy Morris, they've got Pascal Martinot-Lagarde, Wilhelm Belocian, Angelika Bergstrom, Gesa Kraus, among others. But it's a great listen, great viewing. Hope you enjoy it. If you like RunBlogRun, and we hope you do, like us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. It means a lot. And if you love us, subscribe on YouTube. Mike produced 396 videos for us last year. We've also got some SoundCloud audio up there too. And there's stuff for everybody. So check it out. Athletics is a sport for everybody. This is Larry Eder signing off. Stay safe.